Good afternoon. I'm happy to greet everyone who joined the webinar today. Let me introduce myself. My name is Elena Daguns, and today my webinar again is devoted to the device PRK-1U. Now I will switch off the camera in order not to be distracted from the slides, and we will start. So today the webinar is devoted to the device PRK-1U, which was created by the outstanding Russian scientist Grigory Grabovoi. And today I included the answers to the questions which we received from the listeners who already work with the device about the process of work with the device. And I want to thank everyone who sent us these questions. So, a unique device for the development of concentrations PRK-1U is a new generation device which was created by a distinguished scientist, Grigory Grabovoi. This device was created in accordance with two of his patents, Method of Prevention of Catastrophes and Device for its Realization, and Information Carrying System to ensure eternal life for all. Once again, I want to draw your attention to the fact that we are not talking about the extension of human life, but about eternal life in the physical body. That is, we are witnesses and participants in such a historical process of realization of the long-standing dream of humanity, of eternal life, of eternal youth in the physical body. Technologies of the teachings talk precisely about eternal life in a physical body, and through the teachings, the eternal life of the physical bodies is realized, precisely living physical bodies. But at the same time, eternal life of, in general, any matter is realized as well. Well, for another matter that doesn't belong to the class of living organisms, this is the eternal existence of matter. Therefore, in the teachings, in essence, exactly the eternal life in the eternal physical body of the biological object is classified and eternity implemented in any other objects of the world. From my level of understanding, this quote speaks of the transformation of all objects of reality. That is, studying the teachings of Grigory Grabovoi on salvation and harmonious development, disseminating it, working on the device PRK-1U, we participate in the process described 2000 years ago in the Holy Bible. For this corruptible must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality. Well, using modern language, we have a kind of quantum leap that will change both the physical life of the earth and people and consciousness. Grigory Petrovich expressed his opinion on this matter in this way. Taking into account that there is a certain dual principle of organization of matter, that is, the microsubstance at the micro level can be considered both as a particle and as a wave, we can see that this direction is really of enormous importance in general, even from the physical point of view, from the point of view of raising the general energy status, which is precisely being considered in the form of a quantum leap. It is clear that there is a generalized point of view, but there is, for example, a professional point of view. For example, says Grigory Petrovich, at the university we had an annual course of quantum mechanics, and I can say, from the point of view of known orthodox knowledge, and from the point of view of the general perception of this direction, the quantum leap, that to solve the problems of raising a certain energy level in order to solve endless questions of life is in fact the only fundamental and the only true direction in development. Therefore, I'm now creating exactly the technologies that make it possible, in terms of a quantum leap from the point of view of the energy level and the increase in this level, to reach such a level in a timely manner that is included in the training program, well, with the help of various devices as well, such as, for example, the device for the development of the concentrations of eternal life, PRK1U, to train all people faster, even those who were not familiar with this side of life. As we can see from this quote, from the interview which Grigory Grabovoi gave to the German correspondent Mikhail Vogt in May 2017, the device PRK1U has an important role in raising the energy level to solve the issues of immortality, and this role is difficult to be overestimated. The device enables a person who works with it to increase the concentration of thought and enables to control more stable the events of his life and therefore faster to achieve the result of his work. However, the creator of the device says about the need to set a goal while working with the device, to develop using the device his consciousness and spirit so that in the future it would be possible to work without the device, using only the developed spirit and consciousness. It has to be said that it's always the person himself who initiates interaction with the device. The device itself will never connect to man's consciousness. And a person should be in a state of active thinking. Passive monitoring of the instrument doesn't lead to the expected results. It is the thought of the operator that interacts with the light of matter of eternity, which is produced by the device PRK1U. On the external surface of the device there are lenses. Now we can see them on the slide. This is an optical system, which is the receiving block of the device. Optical characteristics and mutual position of lenses on the external part of the device are implemented on the basis of the patent information carrying system. That is, the concentration of attention on the lens of the device, while keeping in mind the purpose of control, enables you to spread the light of the control thought on the lens of the device. That is, at a concentration in a special way on the lenses of the device, the person can contact with the PRK1U. Once again, the device works only with the thought of a person, directed in a certain way. In order to know how to construct a thought, how to direct it, what technology to apply, and how to apply it, it's necessary to study the works of Grigory Grabovoi. That's why the program use tool, called a program of training the teachings of Grigory Grabovoi with the use of the device PRK1U. For effective work with the device, it's necessary to set up the device according to individual characteristics of the person, according to his name, surname, and date of birth. Grigori Grabovoi produces this setting through his controlling clairvoyance and physical and mathematical calculations, software calculations on computers. In the process of working with people, we received questions about how to do it, how to set up the device for each individual. Grigory Petrovich told about it himself, that before the individual assembly of the device, he considers the interaction of man with the device in the future. In this case, he considers the interaction of the level of eternal life, which is available at birth of man. Quotation. It turns out that this level is a certain sphere of eternal life which exists in man at birth. It, depending on its segments, somehow manifests itself in different parts of the body in different ways. That is, for example, a sphere concentrated in the area of the lumbar spine. Then, the light from this sphere passes through the body, and the matter of eternal life that the device generates, Grigory Petrovich says, begin to connect geometrically with what comes from the primary level of the birth of man, that which comes from God, as created by God. Further, when these glows join together, coincide, it turns out that this is exactly the plan for joining this light of eternity coming from man and from the device. This is a special task that requires controlling clairvoyance to make such a joining fast and accurate. This is the end of the quotation. Especially for the device PRK1U, Grigory Grabovoi developed 4 modes of work, or 4 types of control. Control number 1, development of concentrations of eternal life for any event. Control number 2, development of concentrations of eternal life for controlling clairvoyance. Control number 3, development of concentrations of eternal life for controlling forecasting. Control number 4, development of concentrations of eternal life for rejuvenation. Detailed explanations on the fact how to carry out these types of control are given by the teachers of the Education Center at the conclusion of the contract to participate in online testing of the device PRK1U for 90 minutes. The terms and conditions of such contract are available on the website of Grigory Grabovoi World, and all the necessary links will be given on the last slide of this webinar. The address for correspondence for feedback will be also given on the last slide. It has to be said that quite often we get questions about how long it's necessary to concentrate on each control to get a result. And is there a difference how much you need to concentrate for your tasks and how much when you work for another person? The fact is, there can be no definite answer here. We all have different speeds of perception of information, different willingness to accept changes, so to say. So this work should be repeated and repeated to bring information to the norm and thus prepare our consciousness to the adoption of this norm. Therefore, everyone will have individual amount of time spent for this work. Nobody is able to give any guarantees that applying a particular method of control and spending a certain amount of time, you will be healed from certain disease or will create certain event. You must understand that the teachings, methods of control, and the device of development of concentrations They are not pills which can be drunk simply and that's all. We, the teachers of the Education Center, give educational courses. It's important to have proper state of mind or cognitive tuning, desire to understand. It's important to work through the macro salvation, through salvation of everybody from possible global catastrophe. It's important to read Grigory Grabovoy's works, try to understand this knowledge, that is, to work individually as well as to spread knowledge among all people. Often people tell us that the books are written in a very difficult language. And Grigory Grabovoy was told about it as well. When he was expressed such a wish to speak in a more simple language, he asked a counter question, and then, what will be your development? After all, what happens when we are absorbed in the information that is given in the books and lectures of Grigory Grabovoy? How do we change? What's happening to our body? An interesting answer to these questions I found in the lecture The Teaching of Grigory Grabovoy About God, Clairvoyance in Eternal Life from August 12, 2015. And when you come to the following other levels of personality systems, you can examine such sublevels as, for example, a cell vision or a certain signal coming from the cell to the recognition of the external system, even to the atomic level. And then you can see that perception of knowledge comes from everywhere. That is, logically, when you start to perceive some material as clear, it means your atoms, the atoms of your matter, are saturated with the same information and in the same proportions that you perceived at the level of consciousness. It is worth to think over this phrase for yourself. Reread it several times. You will have this opportunity because you will have the recording. And this is what happens when we spread this knowledge, the knowledge of eternal life, to other people. And if you, at the level of the structure of eternal life, as if using exactly the eternal life as a platform for contact, you will begin to transmit information to the nearest object of information. And this object of information will receive from you some level of knowledge. Then you will be able to enter into a very close contact with it, positive, if you at first inform that this system which you offer is a system of eternal life. And here you will notice that any object of information at the level of informative viewing, it immediately, as if a magnet, sticks then to this information of yours, as you offer eternal life. That is, when we spread knowledge about eternal life, our events begin to develop in a more positive way. After all, we then act as saviors, and the God protects saviors because they follow His will, His task of salvation of everybody, because the God can act in the world only through people, by human hands and feet. As for the question of spiritual work with other people, it is very important how much the person with whom you work is involved in this, whether he accepts this knowledge. If not, then it's necessary to transfer knowledge on a spiritual level. This can be done, for example, during the control, development of concentrations of eternal life on the controlling clairvoyance. Grigory Petrovich has different technologies that tell how it can be done to transfer knowledge. For example, at the level of light pulses, at the level of any impulses of the spirit, soul, consciousness. Or you can imagine the concentrated light of knowledge about eternal life and pass it into the hand of the person with whom you are working at the moment. And now I want to finish today's webinar with a short and, as always, very deep lecture, the teaching of Grigory Grabovo about God, the technology of eternal life, which Grigory Petrovich created the 5th of June 2015. All should live eternally. Accordingly, everyone has to master the knowledge of how to live eternally. For this, we have to introduce the technology of eternal life everywhere. The eternal Creator forms the eternal. Any education should include the knowledge that ensures eternal life. We think about the eternal because we can live eternally. The perceived idea of eternal life includes the technology to achieve it. Examine your thought from an infinitely distant state, and you will see yourself as if in a magnifying mirror. Read sharply a light beam in your perception, and you will once again understand and believe that eternal life in one physical body is achievable. From the start point of this beam, approach your physical body infinitely close with your consciousness. You will see that eternity is inseparable from you. The task is to maintain and strengthen such structure of thought in any actions, and then, since this moment, you will be provided with the technology of eternal life. The spirit that possesses the property of universality will create your creative capabilities that will enable you to master eternal life quickly. The soul will reveal the path to be able to live eternally in all circumstances. The inner harmony with yourself originates from the knowledge of what is happening in terms of the realization of eternal life. On a harmonious wave, combine the information about the eternal life of the body, mind, soul, and spirit, and you will pass the light of the knowledge of eternal life to all. This will prove that you, by realizing eternal life, will have its eternal future, because you will find that such knowledge, brightened by eternity, will necessarily become universal, which means that at the same time this knowledge, advanced by the experiences of others, will become yours again. By getting the following systemic and new knowledge that ensures eternal life, you are helping to master eternal life even more people whose number becomes infinite. With such combined technology of eternal life and force, you can surely achieve eternal life for all people and all living in general. Now, our meeting came to the end. Thank you for your attention. Wishing you all harmonious and eternal life. And please send your questions and your testimonials uh, from the work with the PRK1U. Bye bye.